Hello, everybody. It's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality once again. So I have another interview ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get that one going. So without any delay, here you go. All right, bye. All right, so I have Pat on the line here. He's one of the musicians that reached out about the current interview series going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give him a chance to introduce himself.
All right. Hello, my name's Patrick Guerrero. I'm a local musician out of Mankato, Minnesota, southern Minnesota area. Been around here all my life, 52 years now. So just thought it was interesting. I saw the post about sharing stories about music and stuff, and always happy to share stories and inspire others to follow their dreams in music.
Awesome. So I always like to start at the beginning. What was it about music that you identified with that really made you kind of feel like that's what you wanted to have in your life?
Well, I had a dad and a brother. My brother, being 10 years older than me, played guitar avidly as I was a child growing up and stuff. So that was always very inspiring. It's always cool to see somebody actually playing guitar in your house. You know, you don't always get a chance to see that, but when you do, it was very inspiring to me. And I credit my older brother for turning me on to music. The first wow moment with music for me, I think I was 4 or 5 years old. He put headphones on me and had me listen to the Boston Longtime album, and from there on, I was just mesmerized by music. So.
Awesome. So when would you say that you like picked up your first instrument and really started to kind of learn the ins and outs of music?
When I was 7, my dad brought home just an old Stella Harmony acoustic guitar that he found in someone's garage, and they didn't want it, so he just scooped that up and brought it home. And my brother, being 10 years older than me and an avid guitar player, he showed me a few little things, how to tune and things like that. A few months later, I had one guitar lesson. He showed me 3 chords, E, A, and D, and came home, worked on that. My brother showed me the F chord and the C chord, and from there, I went back 2 weeks later for my second lesson, and the instructor looked at my dad and said, "Hey, when can I take lessons from him?" So I just kind of went off from there. I started just playing everything and all the time, I guess my main inspiration was Casey Kasem's America's Top 40. And I would sit in bed at night. I think he came on at like 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. And I would just sit in bed and just learn. I would play along with all the songs and just the root notes. And then from there, I could pick out whether it was a minor or major or whatnot, and what the chord progression was. And that's kind of how I started.
Sure. So how long would you say after like first starting to learn the instrument did it take for you to get like really comfortable with it to the point where you're like writing with your instrument?
About 3 or 4 years. I wrote a couple little songs. I wrote one about my hamster getting away in the house.
Nice.
And it was basically a Blondie tune, "The Tide is High," but with words about the hamster getting loose in the house, because my mom was she'd go crazy whenever the hamster got loose. So
Of course.
she'd be standing up on chairs and tables until it was found. So
Awesome. And so once you did kind of hit that point where, you're playing guitar, you're feeling good about it, what was kind of like the, lightning strike moment when you realized, I should get a band together. I should bring people in on this and, we should start playing shows.
well, probably about a year after I started playing guitar, my sister started playing drums. She's 5 years older than me, so I was the youngest of the three. So my brother, being 10 years older than me, he played guitar. So I picked up the bass guitar, which we had in the house, and then my sister and brother and we would just start jamming on mostly Kiss tunes. And we had named ourselves Kiss 2. And my dad would set us up playing around all the local towns where they had back in the 70s and stuff. They had Las Vegas nights, the Gong Show at like the township community halls and things like that. And we'd compete, sometimes for money, sometimes just for fun, in a lot of those contests. And, we won a few times and sometimes we didn't, but it was fun.
Sure, definitely. And so, as that kind of took off, how did you kind of idealize your career going? Like, what did you want to put into music in order to get out of it?
I never really did uh, get come to fruition with what the answer to that question would be. I knew I always wanted to write music. I did when I was 14. I met a drummer, and so him and I just started jamming, and we played a couple fairs and small, community events and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a drummer and I. So it took us about a year and a half until we came across a bass player and got a little more serious and played a few more shows. But we always did covers, but I always liked to kind of throw my own spin on them. Back then it wasn't such a popular thing, but now it's the rage. So, but throwing in ad lib verses or things like that, or changing up the rhythms a little bit. And then writing songs and creating songs, and like writing music for the drums and the bass and the guitar and the keyboards and the backup vocals and everything, and then just bringing it to the people and to the band and saying, this is what I want you to do. This is what I want you to do.
Sure.
And just kind of starting out like that is really how it started.
So where would you say that you are with music now? Maybe this is a better question prior to, the last year, but, have you been out there doing shows, writing music with your bandmates? Like, give us a sense of, where you're currently at.
Currently, I'm jamming with about 3 different groups. One is just an acoustic duo, guitars, and then another one is a 3-piece, guitar, bass, and drums where I play bass. And then another one is another independent artist out of the Mankato area that writes a lot of his own music, and I play bass and keyboards for him. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like a Dave Matthews style, I would say. So right now I'm still staying in it. I've been playing shows for, ever since I was 14. Mm-hmm. Had some fun, serious bands, but we always stayed local. We never went very, very wide range. We always stayed mostly central to southern Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And mostly cover bands, things like that, top 40 rock. Right now I see myself into heavier rock and wanting to find work with the musicians that fit my style, mm-hmm. so I can present my music before I get too much older, and kind of go that route and just see where that takes me.
Sure, definitely. So going back a bit, what would you say are some of pivotal moments that have happened to you while you've been playing or writing music that really kind of made you feel like you were where you were supposed to be and, doing what you wanted to do?
Okay. I'd have to say probably 30 years ago, first time I experimented getting high and playing, that really opened my mind. Mm-hmm. It made me a lot more creative than I had been. A lot of the songs that I am currently putting together are, originated in that era. So I would kind of say, I kind of loosened up, and just relaxed a little bit and got more comfortable with my instrument. And I think I attribute it to just the right setting. I was playing with just a drummer at the time, but I had a guitar synthesizer where I could play bass and guitar. And so it was basically 3-piece. And then we had an older gentleman who would come up and play harmonica just on a whim, whenever he felt comfortable, we would just start playing, say at 9:00, and we wouldn't stop until 1 or 2 in the morning. We would just play nonstop constantly, maybe taking a couple short little breaks to take a drink here and there. But, mm-hmm. So that was really eye-opening for me, mm-hmm. Just to have that opportunity. Friends and family would come out. We did it every full moon weekend, and it was out in the country. So whoever wanted to come would come. We ended up turning into getting kegs, and stuff, and people paying $5 a cup. And, before we knew it, it was getting too big. So we kind of had to kind of, limit it after a while, but it took about a year and a half for that to catch on. And so that was fun. It didn't last forever. But we wrote a lot of music back in those days from like 93 to 96. And I still have probably 200 to 300 cassette tapes because I recorded every time we would get together and jam. And I have all those cassettes, and I'll pop one in once in a while. I started transcribing some of them to CD, or copying them to CD and stuff. So, but so a lot of that was just having the opportunity and the people around to experiment with the music.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. So where would you kind of mentioned that you would like to get a band together to kind of present your music. How did you kind of identify, what content and what type of music that you wanted to make? Was it something that kind of came naturally, or did you feel like an influence from a band that you listened to a lot? What was your kind of ideation process?
Boy, that's a tough one to answer easily because I've been inspired and influenced ever since I started listening to music.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I've seen tons of live shows where that inspires me even more.
Mm-hmm.
Local bands, I'll go out every chance we get or every chance I get and check out local bands. And that inspires me just to hear other people doing their stuff, their own music and stuff. Spend a lot of time up in the cities, checking out concerts and live venues and things like that. And so that all inspires me. My own style is very expanded from kind of like a bluesy funk to hard rock to psychedelic, a little bit of industrial. Mm-hmm. So I've got a wide range of things that I do that I have recorded already, and I'm continuously inspired and intrigued by new musicians and the new things that people are coming up with these days.
Awesome. That's a great answer. So, with the couple decades that you've had playing music and working on music, playing shows, what would you say your kind of favorite venue is? Whether it be like, a large hall or a bar or a field outside or like a festival. What's your kind of ideal venue setting?
They're all fun. I've done all that you mentioned there. My personal favorite has to be the smaller clubs where people are right up in your face singing along.
Sure.
Just screaming back in your face. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ones that really stick out in my mind. Where your friends and other people you don't even know are just like 2 feet in front of you, screaming right back at you, and they're just packed in the dance floor area, and they're not really necessarily dancing. They're just there to be part of the music. I've got cassettes from a band I started back in the late 90s called Foreplay, which is a classic to modern rock band out of southern Minnesota here. Mm-hmm. And they're still playing today. I stopped going on shows with them back in 2008, mm-hmm. but they've been going ever since. But we had a lot of fun times doing some small shows, and I recorded a number of those on CD, and you can hear the people that I was just talking about, referring to the people that are screaming back the lyrics and singing along. You can hear them. That's how close they are, because it was some small places we would play as well as the big ones. But those are the ones that stick out in my mind. I can envision it all right now as I'm speaking of it. So those are the ones that stick out in my mind.
Awesome. Very cool. So what are some links where people can kind of check out the stuff that you're working on and, click on it and listen to you?
I have nothing out there right now. That's I'm just I have stuff recorded on my own, and I just haven't, I'm never satisfied with how it sounds, so, because I haven't recorded enough with other people. Mm-hmm. The stuff I have recorded, which is only about 35 songs, is just stuff that I've done myself, playing the drums, the bass, the keyboard, the guitars, and everything, And so when I do meet the people, I'm kind of in that juncture right now where I have a few people, my brother being one of them, who is still playing guitar, that want to sit down and learn, these songs and do something with them, So that's the goal, and that's kind of where it's at right now. I don't really have anything that I'm currently flying out there on the internet at all. So
Sure. Well, I mean, once you do, I'm happy to help promote it. So I want to give you the chance to do your last word. I like to give the people I interview the opportunity to put out a message that you think resonates with you.
you know, I guess the message I would like to convey is that the music is so inspiring for everybody. I mean, it's a constant part of everybody's daily life for the most part. It's on. Sometimes you don't even realize it's on. But I know that my grandchildren now are 7 and 10 and 11, and they're all interested in music. One of them is playing guitar. One of them is playing piano, and it's fun to see that music grow with them. And for them to ask to want to learn how to play one of my songs has been one of my true accomplishments, because they hear me play the stuff in the house or in the car, and for them to like it and respect it, and continue to learn and grow the music that is out there, and let it continue to grow more, because every time you hit a different note or a different chord, it's a different thing in music. So I guess I would just say, let it intrigue you, and let you intrigue others by playing.